Hey guys, Nick Espinoza, your chief security fanatic here, and today we are actually talking about DNA and privacy because we've seen some major shifts in the US government starting in 2017 that seem to be eroding privacy and the ability to be innocent before proven guilty. Now, what I'm talking about is probably going to be longer than my normal 2-3 minute video or so, but this is also going to be dove into significantly deeper in my radio show, The Deep Dive Radio, which will be out this week. So check your local listings for that, or a week from Friday if you catch me on SoundCloud and iTunes. But we're going to be talking about this. Now, if you're not familiar, and I have a ton of notes here on this, but it's beyond fascinating, so bear with me for a moment. We basically have this database. It's a national database in the United States called CODIS, or CODIS. Now, this is being used by law enforcement, specifically the FBI, to basically look for criminals that are suspect in, let's say, some kind of crime. So they take a DNA swab, they put this into CODIS, and it gives them the ability to compare against DNA samples that are already there, etc. Now, this process normally takes about 2 weeks or so, and the fear is that 2 weeks is a lot of time, and if they are looking for a suspect, especially, let's say, a serial killer or a repeat offender, that's a problem. So, in 2017, President Trump signed into law something called the Rapid DNA Act. Now, the Rapid DNA Act had bipartisan support in both Congress and Senate, and so it was signed into law. Now, what this basically says is that by basically 2019, so we are now starting to see the effects of the Rapid DNA Act, moving data into CODIS actually shouldn't take weeks. It has to take 90 minutes or less. And so I've got some notes here. The legislation also asked the FBI to issue standards and procedures for use of rapid DNA technology so the fully automated process can be used by virtually any criminal justice agencies across the United States to collect swabs and upload DNA samples into CODIS in the future. So in other words, if you are arrested or suspect of a crime, let's say not at the federal level, which is when the FBI gets involved, but let's say by your local law enforcement, they now have the ability to basically take a DNA swab of you and now upload it into the national database that the FBI uses and then get results in under 90 minutes. Here's the thing. A lot of groups that advocate for civil liberties, privacy, and all of that, like the Innocent Project or the Rutherford Institute, have been having some serious problems with this. So the Innocent Project has, and I've got notes here again, reports have mentioned that this means the police can routinely take DNA samples from people who are arrested but not yet convicted of a crime. Now, John Whitehead from the Rutherford Institute went on, and I'm going to read you this long quote here because I think it's absolutely fascinating. He says, and I quote, "We could look at a situation in which somebody could be arrested, have their mouth swabbed, and then be charged within hours after generating a DNA profile. We are looking at the erosion of the concept of innocent before proven guilty because it will allow police to go on fishing expeditions. When you sit on a park bench, you shed DNA. That is now up for grabs by police who could swab it, run it through a DNA database. If they find a match, or if misconduct occurred anywhere in the vicinity where your DNA was found, you might find yourself charged with a crime you never committed merely because you happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. Even people who aren't charged with major crimes would have their DNA put on file. People who are just seen as suspicious could also have their genetic makeup stored in a criminal database." And I think that's what we are seeing with this. Now, we are, and millions of us are voluntarily giving our information over to groups like Ancestry.com, 23andMe, et cetera, and one of these, Family Tree DNA, just opened up their database to the FBI for an investigation, and so what we are seeing is genetic profiles essentially on all of us, because you didn't necessarily have to do your own genetic profile, but let's say you've got a cousin out there, now you're related to somebody that is in this database, and we also know, studies have shown that if we have 2% of genetic profiles on the entire population, we have genetic profiles on everybody, because at some point we're all related if we go back far enough. So take that for what it's worth. I'm going to be talking more in depth on that, but what we are looking at here is a centralized DNA database that essentially can be added to at will if you've ever been in the vicinity of a crime. And just given that I live in downtown Chicago, or not live in downtown Chicago, but I'm in downtown Chicago quite a bit, I'm sure I've left DNA in restaurants and just walking down the street and all of that, heading to clients and all that kind of stuff. And so now am I in the vicinity of a crime? It's very possible. I live in an urban area, so take that for what it's worth. But that is your news of the day, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this because I think this is a serious issue that we need to start looking at. And so, take it for what it's worth. And please like, share, follow me here on Facebook and Twitter at NickAESP. And as always, stay safe and stay online. Thanks, guys.